Hey guys, what's going on? It is the Schrothinator here, and I wanted to go ahead and talk to you guys about UFC 194. Maybe talk about the Ultimate Fighter a little bit, the finale show. I just want to get to that real quick. Ryan Hall, I'm glad he won Ultimate Fighter. I really like Ryan Hall a lot, and I think he has something to bring to this sport. But he does need to increase his stand-up game. He destroyed Artem, though. I mean, landed only like 20 strikes total. Ryan Hall landed like a lot, well over 100. Obvious winner was Ryan Hall. He destroyed him. Now, off to UFC 194. It was a crazy card. It was a great card. One of the best of this year. Not as good as 189 though. I think 189 was the best card this entire year so far. That was just an amazing, absolutely beautiful card. But I'm not going to talk about every fight. I am, however, before I get into this card, I was 8 for 12 on overall picks. 8 out of the 12 fights I predicted correctly. I got 3 bonuses, which is like, off of title fights, streak fights, whatever it is. If you guys play UFC, pick them. If you don't, I think you should. It's completely free. If you get in the top, like, I don't know how many, what place you have to be in to actually win a prize, but it's 100% free to sign up. You never have to pay anything on that. There isn't even an option to make payments for that. And then I also got 2 perfects on that. It's a lot of fun to do. It's also great practice if you want to end up getting into like online gambling like I do with Counter Move. I don't use DraftKings. Do not use DraftKings. They tried to screw me on money. I won't get into that, but because I don't want to get caught for slandering or anything. But I did pretty good, of course, on predictions overall. But one fight I really want to talk about was this guy. It was Joe Proctor versus Mustafaev. That's his last name. Now, this Mustafaev guy, this is a small weight class. I believe this is the lightweight division. It might be featherweight. I'm not 100% sure what division this is. I'm sorry about that. But this Mustafaev guy, the night before 194, right after Edgar knocked out Mendez, which was just fucking insane. I looked up some of this Mustafaev guy's fights, and he's a little guy. This is the lower weight classes. This guy won by powerbomb. By powerbomb. He powerbombed somebody before he came to the UFC and knocked them out with it. That's ridiculous. Only person I've ever heard of that, someone doing that was, Matt Hughes technically got Newton with a powerbomb, but not really. But Rampage Jackson in Pride, I don't know if it was Phil Brony, it might have been Paulo Filo. I can't remember exactly who it was in Pride, but Rampage Jackson full-on powerbombed somebody and knocked him out with it, which was ridiculous. And this little guy in the lower divisions powerbombed somebody, which is ridiculous. Now, this guy's a finisher. He finished Proctor in the first 2 minutes of the fight, which is very impressive. This guy, I think, is going to be forced into the division. I think all of his fights come by stoppage. Not all of them, maybe, but the majority of them. Especially the last couple fights this guy had before Proctor, a lot of them were doctor stoppages. That's very unusual to see. I don't know exactly what the cause of those doctor stoppages was, but we saw Kevin Lee right after that fight get knocked out, which was crazy. I thought Kevin Lee was honestly going to dominate the Santos guy. I thought he was going to be able to defend submission at times. He was going to be able to take him down and grind out a decision, in all honesty. But he got knocked out in the first round. He tried to stand up with the Santos guy, and the Santos guy apparently had some hands, because he knocked him out. He knocked him down really good. It looked like he was out cold for a second, but he's like, no, he's good. He just lost his footing. He got rocked really bad, and then it was able to get finished, which was, again, it was pretty crazy. Then after that, we saw a fight that I called from the beginning was going to be fight of the night, but it didn't end up being fight of the night. Of course, it ended in the first round. I think Alva's got a performance of the night. If not, he should have. he got a submission, a guillotine submission over Kobe Covington. And both guys, I believe, finished like every fight, or at least most of their fights. They were both undefeated going into that fight. I was able to catch him with a guillotine, and I was very surprised it ended in the first round. I thought both guys were going to be hurt out of the first round. Maybe in the second or third round there was going to be a finish. I was not expecting the fight to end that fast, even though both are strong finishers. Next, Tecia Torres versus Jocelyn Jones. It's not even worth talking about, really. It's just kind of a boring decision fight. It wasn't as bad as Gabriel Gonzaga and Arokin, but it was still pretty painful to watch. Though most women's strawweights fights are. Most of the strawweight ones are. I like watching the bantamweight fights more for the women. Then we had Max Holloway and Jeremy Stevens go to a decision, and that was something I was not expecting. I was not expecting the fight to go to decision at all. The fight went very differently than I thought it would. Holloway, I thought, was honestly going to dominate Stevens. At least the second and third round, I thought he was going to dominate. The first round, I thought maybe it was going to be close, but Holloway's still winning. But yeah, I honestly thought Holloway was going to get a very decisive finish in the third round, or a very strong decision win. But he walked away with the win, of course. Now, this is a fight I really want to get into, is Damian Maia and Gunnar Nelson. Now, it started off with some great scrambling. Nelson was defending some great work by Maia. I mean, they were both doing very good against each other for like the first half of the round, and then after the first half of the first round, Maia just destroyed Nelson after that. That was like a 10-9 round for Maia, and it was a 10-8 round in round 2, and the same for round 3, 10-8 round for Maia. And I called, like, a lot of the people that were there that I was watching the fights with. Oh yeah, by the way, I was at a mansion basically, watching the fights. My dad's boss is, well, he's got some money, and we went there and did some stuff like for kids, like some charity stuff. I'm going to be talking more about the charity stuff and everything in another video today. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. 90-inch screen TVs, 2 of them actually, but we watched them in the one downstairs. Absolutely awesome, and everybody there knows the sport a little bit. There was a couple like high school or college wrestlers, college wrestlers there, and they were all like, "Yo, this guy's gonna win." And I'm like, "He's not," and I'm gonna tell you why. Like, I knew I was the only one at the place that really knew about MMA. A lot of the people watched it a lot, but didn't really get into it a lot. Like, I consider myself an unprofessional analyst, in all honesty. But yeah, Damian Maia absolutely destroyed Nelson in the second and third round. I did not think there was going to be a finish in this fight at any point. I thought if there was going to be one, it was going to be Nelson, but it was going to be standing up. I knew no one was getting submitted in that fight, though Nelson could have gotten submitted at any time on that ground there. I mean, Jesus. Now, Maia won 30-25, and before the judges' scorecards came out, they're like, "Oh, I think definitely 30-27 for Maia." And they're like, "Yeah, he dominated those 2 rounds." And I said 30-25, and they go, "How does that make sense?" And then when the Bruce Buffer announced 30-25 Maia, they're like, "How the hell did you score that?" And I said, "You just gotta understand like MMA judging. If it's a dominant round like that, it's a 10-8 round at least." Up next is a very, and I mean very, controversial fight. Not a lot of people might see it controversial, but when you've been watching the sport as in-depth as I do and my buddy Mike do, like, also that we're fans of Jacare, so we had to point it out. Romero held onto the cage super hard and got top position on Jacare, but of course the referee stood the fight up, and honestly it should have been a point deduction because of how bad that cage holding was and how delayed the ref was to get to there. Honestly, I think the ref should have deducted a point, because he actually ended up grabbing the cage once or twice again, I think. But yeah, it was a split decision. I knew it was going to be close, because the first round definitely went to Romero. It most definitely did with the ground and pound. Oh my god, I can't believe he didn't get submitted. I can't believe he hung on the ground like that with Jacare. It was ridiculous. But Then the second round, it could have gone to either guy, but they edged more towards Romero, definitely. One judge, of course, gave the second round to Jacare, and then the third round was clearly Jacare. So it was all to that second round how the judges saw it. Now, I think that obviously if they deducted a point against Romero, Jacare would have won that fight. But since they didn't, Romero won. Now, without the point deduction, like if there was no controversy, the fight went the same way, and there was no cage grabbing, everything happened like it did, or whatever, I think that Romero won the fight. I can't really argue with it. But in all fairness, the point should have been deducted. So I think Jacare should have won that fight by like one little measly point. But in all honesty, I hope that, you know, Romero versus Rockhold is going to be great. They better not be giving all these like rematches. Like Aldo should not get a rematch. Well, I mean, I'll get into that later. I'll get into that later. And some stuff that I've heard from Dana White himself. Not directly to me, but from what he said before in an interview. But, yeah, so that was a close decision there. Can't really disagree with the judges, but at the same time, I kind of disagreed with the reffing in a little bit. I mean, at least the ref stood the fight up and said, hey, you lose the position because you grabbed onto the cage. He got it right in Romero's face, so I'm glad about that at least. Up next, Wyman Rockhold. Not a single human being in the same room. There was a whole bunch of adults. There's college kids. Everybody's in there. And they're all like, Wyman's the champ. He knocked out Silva. He's going to win. And I said, Rockhold's going to finish him. And they're like, you're crazy. And I said, there's no reason Rockhold's the underdog. He beats Weidman in every single aspect of the sport besides wrestling. And, of course, the college wrestlers like, Weidman's going to win. He's going to wrestle him down. He's going to beat him down. And I said, if he takes Rockhold down, Weidman's going to lose. Weidman's got to go out with a lucky punch, otherwise he's going to lose. That's what I told all of them. In the third round, I told them all, in the third round, Rockhold will TKO him. He won't knock him out cold. He will, however, get a TKO victory. And he should have. At the end of that third round, Rockhold clearly won by TKO, but the referee, Herb Dean, was bad tonight. Like, overall, Herb Dean did a bad job as a referee. Honestly, I would not put him in any sort of main event or title fight matches now. So I can't stand Herb Dean anymore after that fight specifically. That was absolutely terrible refereeing. Rockhold clearly finished Wyman with a TKO in the third round. But it went to the fourth round. Rockhold got a TKO in that round. If Herb didn't stop it there, honestly, like, if I was Dana, I would have fired Herb Dean immediately. I would have fired Herb. It was just so bad. I got super pissed at Herb Dean in that fight. But yeah, Rockhold, new middleweight champion, which was just crazy. But of course, I was the only one in that room that was correct. And then after that, I said, I think Aldo's going to win. And almost everybody in the room agreed with me. But again, I told them, like, well, now don't just agree with me because I was completely right about the Rockhold-Wyman fight. But I was also, like, I was so on the fence of McGregor or Aldo because McGregor really impressed me when he fought Seaver. This is a weird thing to be impressed by, but, like, how he fought Seaver impressed me. How he took his time. He didn't rush it, which I thought he was going to do. So I said, if that McGregor comes in and fights Aldo, he's going to win. 13 seconds. Fucking McGregor hits Aldo with a left and it knocks him out. I immediately yelled fixed because I said if this fight ends within 10 seconds or, you know, like within a couple seconds basically, or if it goes to a decision and McGregor wins when it was clearly Aldo winning or something like that, I'm going to say it's fixed. And I thought it was fixed at first, in all honesty, because I'm just like, there's just no way this fight ends that way. I just couldn't believe that the fight would end that way. Knocks him out in 13 seconds, and when I saw the replays, I'm like, no, actually, Aldo's out. Aldo got knocked the fuck out. McGregor won fair and square. I don't hate Conor McGregor, if you guys think so. I don't hate him. I hate his nut-hugging fans that fucking freak out every time he appears on stadium. I was like, he's not a god. He really isn't. Mendes, the full training camp, would have raped McGregor. Edgar's going to destroy McGregor. Whenever this, that's pretty much the end of that's what happened at 194. You know, Ryan Hall, your Ultimate Fighter, of course. Frankie Edgar knocked out Mendez on Friday night. Sage Northcutt got a huge guillotine win on Thursday night. Rose Namajunas got a good rear naked choke in round 5 against Paige Van Zant. And of course, Jim Miller got submitted by Chiesa. I don't know how it happened. I gotta look that up. I forgot to look that up the other day. I've been really busy this weekend. And I'm done with Jim Miller. I can never, ever say Jim Miller will win a fight again after his last 2 fights. I can't. He should just retire. He's terrible now. If you get submitted by Chiesa and you're Jim Miller, that means you're no good anymore. Simple as that. Alright, so I want to thank you guys so much for watching this, this Fight Week review. Whatever I decide to name the title. Make sure you hit that like button. Also, comment. Let me know what you thought about each fight card. Whether you want to tell me all in one comment, you want to divide the comments, be like, oh, I'm going to make a comment for Thursday's fights, I'm going to make a comment for Friday's fights, I'm going to make a comment for Saturday's fights, whatever you guys want to do in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys thought about them. And, of course, subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.